If you struggle to stay consistent, break promises to yourself, or feel stuck even though you know what you should be doing, this video will show you how self-discipline can quietly change your entire life by the end. Many people wait for motivation, but motivation comes and goes, while days, months, and years keep slipping away. You start with good intentions, yet distractions pull you off track, and later you wonder why nothing has changed. Without self-discipline, talent stays unused, dreams remain unfinished, and confidence slowly fades. But with the right understanding, discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like freedom. There is one mindset shift most people never learn, and it decides whether you move forward or stay stuck. Stay with me, because in this video, I'll share 7 life-changing principles that reveal why self-discipline is the foundation of a strong, successful, and peaceful life. The first key point is this: discipline is choosing your future over your mood. And that sounds simple, almost obvious, but most people never truly live it. They wake up and ask one silent question before every action: how do I feel today? If they feel tired, they delay. If they feel unsure, they retreat. Over time, this habit hands full control of their life to emotions that change every few hours. Moods are unstable. They rise and fall like weather. If your actions depend on them, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline begins the moment you stop negotiating with your feelings and start honoring a deeper decision about who you want to become. Most people don't realize that moods are not commands, they are signals. Feeling tired does not mean you should quit. Feeling bored does not mean the work is useless. Feeling uncomfortable does not mean something is wrong. Discipline teaches you to listen without obeying. It says, I hear you, but you do not decide. This is where personal power is built. When you act despite your mood, you send a message to your mind that your future has priority. And slowly, something shifts. You stop being controlled by temporary feelings and start being guided by long-term vision. There is a dangerous myth that motivation must come first. People wait to feel inspired before they move, as if action is the reward of feeling good. Discipline flips this idea completely. Action comes first. Feeling follows later. When you go to the gym, even when you don't feel like it, energy shows up after movement begins. When you start working, even when your mind resists, clarity comes after effort starts. Discipline understands a truth most people ignore. The mind follows the body. You don't wait for confidence to act. You act until confidence appears. Choosing your future over your mood also means accepting that some days will feel heavy. Discipline does not promise comfort. It promises direction. There will be mornings when discipline feels unfair, nights when it feels lonely, moments when quitting feels easier and more logical. But discipline asks one simple question in those moments: will this choice matter tomorrow? Most moods disappear by morning, but the results of your choices stay. Discipline trains you to think beyond the moment, beyond the urge, beyond the emotion that is loud but short-lived. When you repeatedly choose discipline, your self-image changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to be pushed, reminded, or rescued. You begin to see yourself as someone reliable, someone who shows up, someone who does not collapse under discomfort. This internal shift is powerful because it doesn't depend on success or failure. Even on days when results are small, the act of choosing discipline reinforces a stronger identity, and identity is what sustains long-term growth, not motivation. Another truth people avoid is that moods often lie. You may feel unprepared, but you are capable. You may feel behind, but you are still in the race. You may feel weak, but strength is built in moments like these. Discipline doesn't argue with these feelings. It moves anyway. And as it moves, it exposes the lie. You realize that progress was possible all along, but fear and comfort were speaking louder than truth. Discipline is not about being harsh or robotic. It is about being loyal to your future self. The version of you that wants peace, stability, confidence, and freedom is counting on today's decisions. Every time you choose discipline over mood, you protect that future. Not in dramatic ways, but in quiet, steady choices that compound over time. This is how ordinary days become extraordinary lives. The second key point is this: freedom is built through structure, not the absence of it. Most people misunderstand freedom. They imagine it as open space, no rules, no schedules, no limits. They believe freedom means doing whatever they want, whenever they want. But look closely at lives built on that idea. Sleep is irregular, energy is scattered, time disappears without explanation. What feels free in the beginning slowly turns into a quiet loss of control. True freedom is not found in endless choice. It is found in clear boundaries that protect what matters most. Structure gives your life a backbone. Without it, everything collapses under pressure. When there is no structure, small problems feel overwhelming. Decisions drain energy. Distractions take over. Structure removes unnecessary thinking. When you decide in advance when you will work, rest, train, or reflect, you free your mind from constant debate. Your energy stops leaking into indecision and starts flowing into execution. That is real freedom. The freedom to focus deeply instead of reacting constantly. People often resist structure because they confuse it with restriction. They fear that routines will make life boring or mechanical. But boredom doesn't come from repetition, it comes from lack of progress. A structured life creates momentum. When you know what your day requires, you move with confidence. You stop asking, "What should I do now?" and start asking, "How well can I do this?" Structure does not shrink your life. It expands it by giving every hour a purpose. Look at any area where people feel trapped. Money, health, time, relationships. In almost every case, the problem is not too much structure, but too little. Overspending comes from unplanned finances. Burnout comes from unplanned work and rest. Distance in relationships comes from unplanned attention. Structure is not control for control's sake. It is intentional care. It says, "This matters enough to be protected." And what you protect grows stronger. Structure also builds trust within yourself. When you say you will wake up at a certain time, and you do it, your mind relaxes. When you plan your work and follow through, your inner resistance quiets down. Chaos creates anxiety, because the mind is constantly trying to predict what comes next. Structure calms the mind, because it removes uncertainty. This mental calm is often mistaken for limitation, but it is actually peace. And peace is one of the highest forms of freedom. Another hidden power of structure is resilience. Life will interrupt you. Plans will break. Unexpected challenges will appear. A structured person does not fall apart when this happens. They adjust and return. Because structure is not about perfection. It is about rhythm. Just like breathing has an inhale and exhale, structure has effort and recovery. When this rhythm exists, setbacks don't destroy progress. They become temporary pauses instead of permanent stops. Freedom without structure demands constant self-control in the moment. Structure reduces that demand by making the right action easier. When your environment is organized, your habits aligned, and your priorities clear, discipline becomes lighter. You don't have to fight temptation all day. You've already decided what matters. That is why structured people often appear calm and confident. Their freedom comes not from doing less, but from deciding more in advance. The third key point is this. Discipline is self-respect in action, not just an idea you admire from a distance. Many people speak about confidence, self-love, and believing in yourself, but very few understand where those qualities actually come from. They are not born from words, affirmations, or public image. They are born from behavior. Every time you do what you said you would do, especially when it is inconvenient, you place a small brick in the foundation of self-respect. Over time, those bricks become unshakable. Without discipline, self-respect remains a wish, not a reality. Your mind is always watching you. It notices when you make promises to yourself and quietly break them. It remembers when you plan to start tomorrow and delay again. Each broken promise sends a subtle message. Your words are flexible, and your intentions are optional. This is how self-doubt is created, not through failure, but through inconsistency. Discipline repairs this damage. When you follow through, even on small commitments, your mind begins to trust you again. That trust changes how you carry yourself, how you speak, and how you show up in the world. Self-respect grows strongest in private moments. not when people are clapping, but when no one is watching. It is built when you choose to stop scrolling and start working. When you go to bed on time instead of pushing one more distraction. When you take care of your body even when no one will notice the results immediately. Discipline in private creates confidence in public. You don't need validation when you know your own effort is real. Many people chase confidence by comparing themselves to others. They look for approval, likes, or recognition to feel worthy. Discipline removes the need for comparison. When you know you are putting in honest effort, external opinions lose their power. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" and start knowing, "I am growing." It does not shake when circumstances change because it is rooted in daily action, not temporary outcomes. Discipline also teaches you to face discomfort without running from it. Avoidance slowly erodes self-respect. Each time you avoid a task because it feels hard, your inner voice becomes weaker. Discipline reverses this pattern. It trains you to stay present with difficulty, to complete what you started, to sit with effort without drama. This ability to endure discomfort without self-betrayal becomes a deep source of pride. You begin to respect yourself not for being perfect, but for being dependable. There is a difference between being kind to yourself and being careless with yourself. Discipline is kindness with standards. It does not shame you for mistakes, but it does not excuse repeated neglect either. It holds you accountable because it believes you are capable of more. That belief, practiced daily, reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs motivation and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. Over time, discipline builds an internal stability that nothing external can provide. Success feels balanced, not overwhelming. Failure feels informative, not crushing. This emotional stability comes from knowing that regardless of the outcome, you showed up with integrity. And integrity, practiced consistently, becomes self-respect that no circumstance can take away. The fourth key point is this: you do not rise to your goals. You fall to your discipline. Most people believe that setting big goals is the main requirement for success. They write them down, visualize them, talk about them, and feel inspired for a short time. But when daily life begins, those goals become distant ideas. Discipline is what remains when excitement fades. It is the invisible force that decides whether goals stay alive or slowly disappear. Without discipline, even the most powerful goals become fragile. Goals live in the future, but discipline lives in the present. A goal might say, "One day I will be successful," but discipline asks, "What will you do in the next hour?" This is where most people disconnect. They aim high but act low. They dream big but execute small. Discipline bridges this gap. It translates vision into behavior. It turns ambition into routine. Without that translation, goals remain inspirational words instead of lived realities. When pressure arrives, goals do not protect you. Discipline does. On days when energy is low, goals feel abstract. On days when problems stack up, goals feel far away. Discipline steps in during these moments and removes the need for motivation. It says, "This is not about how you feel. This is about what you have committed to." That steady voice is what keeps progress moving forward when everything else tries to pull you backward. Many people underestimate how often life will interrupt them. Illness, stress, responsibility, and doubt will show up without warning. Goals are not designed to handle chaos. Discipline is. Discipline creates systems that continue working even when life is messy. When your habits are strong, bad days do not erase progress. They slow it, but they do not stop it. This is why disciplined people recover faster. They don't need to restart their life after every setback. They return to their system. Another overlooked truth is that goals can lie. They can make you believe that once you reach them, everything will change. Discipline keeps you grounded in reality. It reminds you that fulfillment comes from process, not arrival. The disciplined person does not wait for success to feel proud. Pride comes from showing up, improving, and staying consistent. This mindset prevents burnout and disappointment because progress is measured daily, not someday. Discipline also exposes weak goals. When you lack discipline, you blame circumstances. When you have discipline, you gain clarity. You realize which goals truly matter and which ones were borrowed from others. Discipline forces honesty. It makes you confront whether your goals are worth the effort required. This clarity saves time and energy, allowing you to focus deeply on what aligns with your values instead of chasing everything that looks impressive. Over time, discipline becomes the floor you stand on, not the ceiling you chase. Goals may change, but discipline remains. It becomes the default level of behavior you return to regardless of ambition or emotion. And when life demands more of you, that discipline is already in place, ready to support the next level you aim to reach. The fifth key point is this: discipline trains you to handle pain without turning it into drama. Life will apply pressure whether you are ready or not. Challenges arrive without permission, and discomfort shows up uninvited. What separates strong people from overwhelmed ones is not the absence of pain, but how they respond to it. Discipline teaches you to stay steady when things hurt. It removes the habit of reacting emotionally to every difficulty and replaces it with calm, intentional action. Pain becomes something you move through, not something that defines you. Most people suffer twice. First from the actual difficulty, and second from the story they tell themselves about it. They complain, panic, blame, or replay the problem again and again in their mind. This mental noise drains energy far faster than the challenge itself. Discipline cuts through this noise. It acknowledges pain without exaggerating it. It says, "This is uncomfortable, but it is manageable." That simple shift changes everything. When you stop adding drama, you free up strength to deal with reality as it is. Discipline also builds emotional endurance. Just like muscles grow stronger under resistance, the mind grows steadier under pressure when it is trained correctly. Every time you face a hard task, instead of avoiding it, you increase your capacity to stay present with discomfort. Over time, what once felt unbearable becomes familiar. This does not mean you stop feeling pain. It means pain no longer controls your behavior. You act with clarity even when emotions are intense. Another hidden benefit of discipline is that it shortens recovery time. Undisciplined minds collapse when things go wrong. They need long periods to regain focus and direction. They experience disappointment, but they do not stay there because they have practiced returning to their routine, returning to effort, returning to purpose. Discipline becomes a reset button. No matter what happens, you know how to come back to center. Discipline also removes the need to be understood. When pain hits, many people look outward for sympathy, validation, or reassurance. Discipline teaches you to look inward for stability. You stop needing constant emotional confirmation. You learn to process pain quietly and productively. This internal strength creates a sense of dignity. You carry yourself differently because you know you can handle what life throws at you without falling apart. There is also a clarity that comes from disciplined suffering. When you stop dramatizing pain, you see lessons faster. But bold, you recognize what needs to change, what needs to improve, and what needs to be accepted. Pain becomes information instead of punishment. Discipline allows you to listen to that information without resentment. This makes growth faster and more honest. Over time, disciplined responses to pain reshape your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone fragile or easily shaken. You begin to trust your ability to endure. That trust creates courage. Not the loud kind, but the quiet confidence that says, "I've been through difficulty before and I'm still standing." That belief becomes a powerful foundation for every challenge ahead. The sixth key point is this: small disciplines create big identity shifts. Most people wait for a dramatic moment to change who they are. They think transformation arrives with a powerful decision, a surge of motivation, or a major life event. But identity does not change in one moment. It changes quietly through repetition. Every small, disciplined action is a vote for the person you are becoming. Over time, those votes add up, and one day you realize you are no longer trying to change, you have changed. Small disciplines are powerful because they are repeatable. Anyone can do something intense for a short time. Very few can do something simple every day. That is why small habits shape identity more than big efforts. When you consistently wake up on time, you begin to see yourself as dependable. When you read a few pages daily, you begin to see yourself as someone who learns. When you train for even 10 minutes regularly, you begin to see yourself as someone who takes care of their body. The action may be small, but the message it sends to your mind is strong. Your mind is always collecting evidence about who you are. It does not listen to what you say once. It listens to what you do repeatedly. If your actions are inconsistent, your identity feels unstable. You don't know who you really are because your behavior changes too often. Discipline creates alignment. When your actions match your intentions consistently, your sense of self becomes clear. You stop feeling like an imposter in your own life. Small disciplines also remove fear. Big changes feel risky because they threaten your current identity. Small changes feel safe. They slip past resistance. You don't argue with yourself about a 5-minute effort. You don't feel overwhelmed by a single page or a short walk. But these small acts slowly rewire your self-image. You become comfortable seeing yourself in a new light. And once your identity shifts, behavior follows naturally. Another important truth is that identity-based discipline lasts longer than outcome-based discipline. When you act only for results, motivation disappears when progress is slow. When you act from identity, you show up regardless of immediate reward. You exercise because you are someone who respects your body. You don't work hard just for success. You work hard because you are someone who follows through. This shift makes discipline feel natural instead of forced. Small disciplines also protect you during difficult seasons. When life becomes stressful, big goals feel heavy. But small habits feel grounding. They remind you who you are when everything else feels uncertain. A disciplined routine becomes an anchor. It keeps your identity stable even when circumstances are not. This stability prevents emotional spirals and helps you move forward with calm consistency. Over time, these small disciplines shape how others see you as well. People begin to trust you, rely on you, and respect you not because you demanded it, but because your behavior proved it. But the most important respect is internal. When your identity is built through small disciplined actions, you no longer need to convince yourself of your worth. You live it daily, quietly, and confidently. The seventh key point is this: discipline is saying no so your life can say yes. Many people believe that a full life is built by adding more commitments, more conversations, more entertainment, more access. But most lives are not empty because of lack, they are crowded because of excess. Discipline begins with subtraction. It asks you to look at what drains your time, energy, and attention and have the courage to refuse it. Every intentional no creates space for something meaningful to grow. Saying no is uncomfortable because it challenges the need to please. People fear disappointing others, missing out, or appearing uncooperative. Discipline teaches you that constant availability is not generosity, it is self-neglect. When you say yes to everything, you quietly say no to yourself. Your goals, your health, your peace, and your focus pay the price. Discipline reframes refusal not as rejection, but as protection. You protect what matters by limiting access to what does not. There is also a mental freedom that comes from disciplined boundaries. When you stop overcommitting, your mind becomes clearer. You are no longer rushing from one obligation to another, carrying unfinished thoughts and half-kept promises. Focus deepens because attention is no longer divided. With fewer distractions pulling at you, your effort becomes more powerful. This is not about doing less for the sake of ease. It is about doing the right things with full presence. Discipline also teaches you to say no to internal impulses, not just external requests. Late night scrolling, unnecessary spending, emotional reactions, and procrastination all ask for permission. Each time you deny these impulses, you strengthen self-control. This internal discipline builds confidence because you prove to yourself that urges do not own you. Over time, restraint stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like strength. Another overlooked aspect of saying no is that it clarifies your values. Every refusal is a statement about what you prioritize. When you consistently say no to distractions, you are saying yes to growth. When you say no to chaos, you are saying yes to peace. This alignment between choice and value reduces inner conflict. You stop feeling torn because your actions reflect what truly matters to you. People with disciplined boundaries are often misunderstood. They may be called distant, serious, or rigid, but what is rarely seen is the freedom those boundaries create. Because they say no early, they can say yes fully. Yes to deep work. Yes to meaningful relationships. Yes to rest without guilt. Their lives feel intentional, not rushed. Focused. Over time, disciplined refusal reshapes your environment. People learn to respect your time. Distractions lose their pull. Your days begin to reflect your priorities instead of other people's demands. This is not isolation, it is alignment. By saying no with clarity and consistency, you build a life where your yes carries power, intention, and direction. Discipline, in the end, is not a rule you follow. It is a choice you make again and again, often in silence, often without reward. It is the quiet decision to show up when no one is watching, to stay steady when emotions pull you in different directions, and to honor the life you want more than the comfort you feel right now. Discipline does not demand perfection. It asks for honesty, consistency, and courage. When discipline becomes part of who you are, life stops feeling chaotic. Your days gain direction. Your mind gains clarity. Your actions gain weight. You no longer chase confidence, because it grows naturally from the promises you keep to yourself. You no longer wait for motivation, because your habits carry you forward. And you no longer fear challenges, because you trust your ability to handle them. This is how ordinary people build extraordinary lives, not through luck, not through shortcuts, but through daily discipline, practiced with intention. What you choose today will shape who you become tomorrow. Choose with care. Choose with strength. Choose discipline.